Hi, my name is Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules.
Hi, Connor McGoy, Inside Up Games.
Hi, Maxime Tardy, designer of Earth.
And in this video, we're going to be telling you all about the first expansion set to Earth, which is called Abundance. So, Abundance is the first expansion set for Earth. I say the first expansion set. I don't actually know if there's going to be any more. That's really a question for these two.
Let me give you a sneak peek about working with Max.
Okay.
Imagine trying to catch a super excitable smoke form. That's working with Max. I don't know if I thought my brain was bad. I don't know if his brain ever stops. I'm literally trying to get this one out the door, and he's already so excited about the next one.
Right.
I'm like, Max, great, no, we're good, but I just really need. So he is a machine. So there's definitely gonna be more Earth expansions.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. You've heard it here. There's definitely going to be more.
Yeah, it's in the planning. It's the first time I've been compared to a smoke farm. That's funny.
Now, when is this going to be going on Kickstarter?
Earth Day. So that's April 22nd this year. So in just over a month.
Excellent. And with that Kickstarter, people will presumably be able to get a base copy of the base game as well if they don't already have it?
Correct.
Right. Okay. So what you're going to see here is a complete prototype. This might look like a finished version, but it does say prototype at the top, and everything inside this box is still a work in progress. So this isn't the finished copy of the game because it hasn't actually been printed yet. This is just a prototype. But we're going to open up, we're going to have a look through, and you two are going to tell me all of the stuff that we've got in here. So the first thing in here, and you've already said to me that this is going to change slightly, but This looks like a player board, but it looks slightly different.
I'll let Max explain why there's a new player board, and then I'll go into what's changed.
Okay.
Yeah. So the new player board basically is for a new player. So it's going to be an expansion that allow players to play at up to 6 players. Right. And on the bottom of the player board, we can see that there's some new icons that refer to new mechanics in the game. So I can let Connor. Do you want to talk about it, or
no? You know what? I'll let you tease the mechanic. You can tell the mechanics, and I'll go over the production after.
Yeah. So on the bottom of the player board, we see some new not transformation, but some new trading that you can do in the game. Mm-hmm. So there's a new type of currency that are going to be called seeds. And you'll start the game with either 1 or 2 seeds. And at the bottom of the board, we can see that you can always trade 4 sprout for 1 seed, or 1 of your leaves for 1 seed. But if you do so, the leaf, you won't be able to use it to complete a fauna objective at the end of the game.
Interesting.
And basically what the seeds are doing in the game is that they're a type of joker. So you can always trade them for other resources. So you can trade a seed for either 2 soils, 3 compost from the deck, 2 growth, or you can go dig with them, digging or seeking, as we said in the rule book. And when you do that, is germinate is the right term, right? Okay. And when you do that, the term changed quite several times during the prototype. So
this is that last one here.
Yeah, it's the most important one. When you do this action, you can basically take a pile of card, turn it aside, and then ask for a specific target in the deck. So you can ask to germinate for a 3, germinate for a yellow card, or a specific aspect of the card, and you're just gonna roll the cards until you find one and keep the first one you see and put it in your hand. So it allows you to minimize the randomness of the draw and search for a really specific card. And there's another effect that you can do with the seeds that's not written on the board. You can compose 4 cards from your hand as well.
Okay. So that will be added into here. So speaking of the seeds...
Actually, hold on. Before you do that, just so that people don't get too excited, back to the player board for a sec. So... the one thing that Max mentioned, which I wanted to clarify a little bit, was with the germinate action, when you search through the cards, you're only allowed to search for something that's an end game scoring objective.
Okay.
So you couldn't search for a specific card. You couldn't say Dog Rose and get the Dog Rose card, for example. However, if you wanted a card with an animal in the name, like Dog Rose, you could say, I want a card with an animal in its name. The big difference being that when you go through it, you're getting the very first one. So maybe you're not getting Dog Rose, maybe you're getting a different one.
Right.
But it allows you to own your search without specifically pulling kind of one card out.
Got it.
And then the biggest change for this is, as we mentioned, there's an icon missing off the bottom of that. But as we'll see, Paul graciously set aside some overlays that we included with the prototype when it was sent out. It's what we used in the office. But at the end of the day, we had some feedback from people just saying that they preferred not having such a large thing covering up their board. So we've just actually finished revising it to include, if you can imagine, just the bottom piece of that. So just another piece of chipboard or a gray board, and that will be actually placed below the player board. And that will have the new iconography that you can kind of see right next to Paul's thumb, the new symbols, as well as a Sprout storage area. Because that's another new mechanic that Max can talk about when he wants to talk about the different balancing, that continual tweaks he makes to the game.
So we've got a punchboard sheet with these seeds on. So these are an additional resource in the game. Now, do you have plans for the Kickstarter to have these as cardstock? And is there going to be a wooden version as well? He's doing his thing with his eyebrows.
Of course, we always have plans. And again, the colors there have changed. They won't be purple. For everyone who's super upset about purple seeds, they won't be purple. But yeah, there are definite some wooden plans and maybe some other plans for the Kickstarter.
What I would recommend is maybe doing a poll of all of the Kickstarter backers. Maybe provide 8 different shapes, and then.
You're mocking me right now for Soilgate 2022 when we had soil kickback on the first campaign?
Yeah.
Those look like clouds. Now they look like poop. Great. Thank you.
That's all right. Okay. So yeah. Now, also in the box, we've got some more growth pieces because we're going to need those because it's going to be taking up to 6 players now. And we have some more sprouts as well.
And let's actually pause for a second on the sprouts and let Max talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. The sprouts, well, it's we added some because there's a 6 player, so you're gonna need more sprouts as well, and also the fact that some people were playing the base game with 5 players and they were like missing sprouts sometimes. So if they buy the extension, they will not run into this problem. And you can always, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can always trade now 4 sprouts for a fruit. So that's a change in the game because it's going to allow you to use the blue action that produce a lot of sprout to generate fruits that going to allow you to grow on your tree, to compost. So it makes the blue action really more versatile.
Right.
And there's also another change we've implemented in the game with the sprouts. You can now, when you produce sprouts that you can't place on your board, either because you don't have like the spots, or that the spots are already all filled out and you don't want to consume your sprout to transfer them into soil, now you can stock them on your board. So you can like start the game opening with a blue action and then just keep them on your board until on a later turn you place a card that has spots on it for the sprouts or something like that. Because we noticed that on BGA, it's nice seeing BGA because you can see all the stats of the players. And I saw that the blue action was taken about half the time of the yellow and the red.
Right.
Yellow and the red action were equivalent, but the blue action was taken half of the time of them. So we tried to play a little on the balance of the blue action so that people have more incentive to use it. Because it's important for me that all the actions, the blue, the red, and the yellow, be used about the same amount of time in the game for balance issues.
Yeah, excellent. Okay.
So on the new board that will be placed below the player board, there's actually a spot there too to have sprout storage. So again, whether I have created extra sprouts that I don't have room for sprout spaces on my floor cards, I keep them on my board. Or as Paul's going to show you and Max is going to explain, on some of our new cards, you might be getting sprouts from other players.
So just a quick question. I'm going to be putting this video online in a few days. is that a rule change that people who are currently playing the base game, they can just adopt that rule right now?
Fair question.
Well, definitely. If they want to implement that at home, I don't see
Okay.
why they couldn't. Because it's now at the beginning of the game, you never would open for people who
With blue.
knows Earth. You will never open with a blue action because you produce well, rarely depending on your island and climate. But basically, you didn't do it because you will lose your 6 sprouts.
Right.
Now with that new change, you can keep them on your board.
Yeah.
So basically, it produces 6 soils instead of the 5 of the red.
Yeah.
So it's the best action for soil production, but you wouldn't get the 2 points of the compost.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's a good starting action. Now it's
Yeah.
a good starting option. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So moving on to the cards, we got lots and lots of new cards, and we've got. I'm going to have to keep them on screen because of the focusing. But we've got different. We got the fauna again. So we got 3 new fauna cards which are double-sided. We've got 2 new double-sided islands, 2 new double-sided climates, 3 new double-sided ecosystems. And you said earlier on that this is the card count for the game.
Correct.
Right. We've also got lots of flora, and we have some more terrain cards, and we have some more event cards. Now, my first question that I have for you, one of the things that I found quite cool is the percentages on the cards. Because when you are looking at those goals and you are looking at the cards in your hand and you're thinking, well, I've got a card here which is going to score me 4 billion points if I manage to collect 2 of these, but how many of those are in the game? And the percentages allow me to sort of help make that decision about what I want to go for. Now, every time you're going to add an expansion and you're going to add new cards, isn't the percentages going to get knocked out of all of the other cards?
Yeah, that was quite a big challenge for me while designing the expansion, because in Earth there's 34 variable that you can find on each cards that have a percentage in the base game. So doing an expansion and adding more card in the game, I really wanted it to be 100% compatible with the base game. So I really needed to work a lot to keep all those 34 variable at the same percentage. And I used still my Excel sheet, and
Right.
I kept the 34 variables at almost exactly the same percentage.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which means that for each objective, when you're going to play the game, you can just put like the expansion in the game, and it's exactly the same percentage. It doesn't change any of them.
Right. That must
Remember
have been
I
quite
told
a
you how
challenge.
crazy he was?
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yeah, this was the biggest Sudoku of my life.
Right.
I created 71, I think, new cards that you put in the deck, and they needed to all respect the same parameters as the base game. So it
Right.
was really a big brain burner. And now we cannot change anything, because once you change like one card, it has a domino effect and change other cards. So it's like fixed like that.
Right. And as you mentioned at the start, this is the first expansion. So you're going to have to go through that all over again with the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on what's the next one is going to be doing. But if it's more card, yeah, it's a must.
Right. Okay, which of the cards do you want to talk about first?
I just see the brown one, the fauna one. It's the Margay. That was on the top, because it's on the other side.
There you
Yeah,
go.
this one on the top. It was really important for me to keep this card, because I have a cat at home.
Right.
And my cat's a Bengal cat, which looks pretty much exactly like a Margay.
Right.
So I wanted to keep that for her. She's called Xena, like a warrior. Yeah.
Right.
It's great.
Okay, now
And
this
then you-
particular card, so there's no new ability on this card. It is the same. What I'm saying, there's no new rules for this. This is just 6 or more cards that have the growth ability. So yeah, no new mechanisms with this card.
Well, sort of, because now he's actually starting to add some scoring based off of what cards do, not just what cards have.
Right. Okay.
Or in the base game, you would score if it had space for this, or if it was at this in these parameters.
Okay.
Whereas now you're actually being scored for what abilities your cards create.
Right. Okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to zoom in with this camera so that we can actually get a bit more of a close-up image of it. There you go, without the horrendous autofocus. So yeah, so these are, as you say, these are giving for the abilities themselves rather than the actual things.
Correct.
Right. Okay. New islands and new climates. So I've noticed straight away we have on this one. Yeah, it doesn't like this autofocus, does it? There you go. So this one's giving 2 seeds to start with.
Yeah, it's a black
There you go.
ability as well. There were no black abilities in the climate, so I thought it was interesting to add one. It's
Yep.
really strong at the beginning, but then it doesn't do anything else for
Mhm.
the rest of the game afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. So we got some of those. Yeah, new islands as well. Anything new on these?
Yeah, some new mechanics because we've listened a lot to the people that play the game, the backers and the good comments, the critics and everything. And we've decided to add some player interaction in the expansion. So you can see on the island on the left, on the red
Yep.
one, it's an island that's going to give the player that activate the red effect a benefit, but it's also gonna impact other players.
Right.
So we've added many cards like that in the expansions where if you activate a card, you're gonna get something stronger, but then you're gonna give all other players sprouts.
Right.
So you're gonna advantage all other player as well. It's like in Magic the Gathering, for those who know the game, it's group hug.
Right.
So it's good for you, but it's also good for the other
Okay.
players.
Cool.
So
And you'll see, jump into the events quick, Paul.
Yes.
So that you can see some of the iconography there, because there's also a
Yeah.
new end of round event which Max can talk about, and end of
yeah,
turn.
yeah, this one is a new mechanic as well. It doesn't change. There's no mechanic in the expansion that will make the game longer, basically, and it's not like it doesn't add that much rules, so it's not like a rule overhead or something like that, since there were already a lot of rules in Earth. But you can see like the even on the left, the Ice Age. Since it's a big event, it's an Ice Age, it's gonna impact all player across the table, and we can see a new icon that means that all player at the end of a round, and it's only gonna activate at the end of a turn, of a player's turn. All player can exchange sprouts to draw cards,
Right.
basically. So it's gonna impact all players. So you can try really to time this even when you're the only one that has sprouts. So you're gonna be the only one that can benefit from that. But even if other players can benefit from it, it's still worth 2 victory points
Right.
at game end.
Yeah.
So it's still valuable to play it. If you play it, you have like normal even in the game. You need to pay the cost to get the benefit, and you need to be able to pay the cost to play it
Yeah.
as well. So they act like normal even, but you can just play them at the end of a turn.
Okay.
And then just for a little more clarity, again, you can see the icon on the left, card on the left on Ice Age is slightly different from the one on Warm Period. And that's because the one on the left is any players may. So no one's forced to. The active player, as usual, has to take their event, like Max was just saying. But then any other players may, and it's all independent. So if the 3 of us were playing, the 3 of us could all decide to, spend 2 sprouts to draw 3 cards. Or maybe Max didn't want to, or didn't have the sprouts, whatever. The one on the right is slightly different, and that's other players. Go ahead, Max.
Right.
Yeah, so the one on the right basically is that the player that plays it is gonna receive 5 sprouts, which is quite a lot in the game. But then all other players are gonna be receiving 3 sprouts.
Yeah.
That's where the saving of the sprouts come into effect, because you're just gonna tell other players, so you all receive 3 sprouts, they take them, and then they're gonna add them over their sprout space on their player board.
Right. Okay, got it. Let's just have a quick look through these. So yeah, lots of things that affect other players. I'm looking to see if there's any more of that germinate action. So there isn't any germinate actions on these, but let's dive into, and I'm just going to try, because my arm's hurting from holding this up a lot. Let's try and put it on there and see if it doesn't fall over. Let's go into some of the new flora cards that we've got. And I'm just going to have a look through. So this one, yeah, so that's got an effect that affects the other players as well.
Yeah, this one.
There's a
Yeah,
misprint in the prototype where most of these icons on the right should have been with the arrows. So that should read the active player gains 4 soil, all other players gain 2 sprouts. So the arrows are missing, and that's going to be the case for, I believe, all of those icons in the prototype.
On the fauna cards. Oh, sorry, on the flora cards.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And you can see that on all the cards, when you give resources to other players, it's always going to be sprouts.
Right.
Because at first, when I first developed the expansion and everything, I put sprouts, cards draw, compost from the deck, and all those things, and there was like a board in the middle of the table. But then the board took so much space, and the game already takes a lot of space, so it wasn't working that well, and it was quite confusing.
Right.
Because there was, okay, is that a draw? Is that a compose? Is that like, and then you needed to put things in the middle of the table. So I figured out that it was just better to have one resource that you can share with other people.
Right.
And with the fruit mechanic, you can always trade the sprouts later on for growth, for draws, for compost.
Yep.
So it was the best way to go.
Just as a note, whenever Max says fruit, he means seed.
He means seeds. Okay.
We've changed the name back and forth multiple times through the process.
Right.
And even in our own sheets, it'll change names like 3 times. And we'll be like, no.
Yeah, and in my prototype handmade, it's still written fruit.
Right.
But it's seeds.
It's seeds. So there's one card, the zebra plant. This has got another icon on it.
Yeah. This one is quite interesting as well, because many people were saying that in art you're mostly focused on your tableau when you're playing, which is true, because there are so many things going on your tableau that you're really focused on what you're trying to do. Well, these cards are gonna force player to look at what other players do. As you can see, like the icon of the player with the left and right arrows means that with this plant, with this herb, you're gonna grow 1 per tree an opponent to your left or right has in play.
Okay.
So if somebody is really going heavy in trees, you can play this card, and then you're gonna be able to benefit from another player's tableau.
Right.
So there's the same thing for the herbs and the same thing for the mushrooms as well.
Okay.
That you can see there, which is really interesting because you really need to focus on the other player's tableau. And since the game is now playable with 6 players, we wanted to keep it just the player to the left and right, because sometimes icons are small, so looking like at the other side of the table, how many trees a specific player has sometimes can be tricky, but at the left and your right, it's pretty much easier to take a look at that.
Yeah. And just looking through these cards here, a lot of these cards have this on them, so you are going to be looking at the players to your left and right to get benefits based on what they're doing.
Yeah. And another thing that was really important for me with Abundance expansion is that I've bought a lot of expansion in my life for different types of games where you have, let's say, 10 new cards, but in the base game you had like 200 cards or something like that. So you just add 10 cards in a deck of 200. So basically you play new games with the expansions, and sometimes you don't even see any expansion card. For me, that was a problem that I didn't want to happen for Abundance. So I added basically about 70 new cards in the deck. of 280 cards, the base deck.
Right.
So it's one card out of 5
Yeah.
that's going to be of the expansion. And since in a regular game you draw about 40 to 50 cards a game, including the one you're gonna see when you do the green action, that makes it that you're gonna see about 10 new cards of the expansion every game you're gonna play with it,
Right.
which makes it more valuable as well.
Yeah. Okay. Just looking at the terrain cards as well. Anything specifically new? I mean, they're obviously all new, but anything specifically super exciting with these cards that we haven't talked about?
More scoring objectives, more ways of scoring objectives. So we thought about more ways of adding up different things. You can see that the lines on there for kind of what's happening around you.
Yep.
You're orthogonally adjacent, diagonally adjacent, end game objectives, green icons, which everybody loves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now,
And some of them I've added that they're gonna score like for different colors in the row or column to fit with the old fauna and ecosystem objectives, so they can synergize and you can combo them with that. And there's one that we see there that produces a fruit in the green, which is quite exciting. It's a
Okay.
fun one to play. Yeah.
Now, one thing that I thought I was going to see when I was looking through the iconography of these cards is this new Germinate action. But I've not seen it anywhere. So it is literally the only time that you can germinate is by spending one of these fruit seed fruit things.
Exactly. And that's actually it is one of the most powerful actions, one of the most powerful ones.
Yeah.
And the thing that's really neat about it is even when you push up to the 6 player count, and no matter the player count, is everything he's actually added speeds up gameplay. And the game's already a nice quick game, but people are going to be like, oh, with the extra stuff slow, and it's not slow, it's actually faster because now you're able to really hone in on the objectives that you're going for.
Right. Okay. And how many times in a game would somebody do the Germinate?
It depends.
Yeah.
Okay.
It really depends. It because you might not even, what Max did, because again, he's a genius, is the idea that it's not always just about, oh, I need one card to win the game. It's like, oh, that card might make me 4 victory points through clever play and well placement on the fauna board. But actually, because of the cards I have in my tableau right now, it's more valuable for me if I'm going to use it to create canopies on top of these trees and get that finishing bonus. Or maybe I've created an engine that's going to score me huge points for compost. So I'm actually going to use them to compost from the deck or from my hand. There's ways, again, of creating those synergies between the cards where the seed seems like it's like, oh, it's most helpful for finding cards. And it can be, but just like just like many cards in the game, it can be situational for the best way to use it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the fauna board, there's only 5 spots for the players and the points decrease. So it's 15 for the first one, and then is it 10 for the next one, I think, and it goes down?
11. I think it's 15, 11, 8. It drops.
So what about the 6th player? Do they not get any points if they do it, or is it the same as the lowest one?
Well, they don't get any point if they don't do it, but you can always exchange one of your leaf for a fruit. So yeah. So you can drop like one of your leaf, gain a fruit, and then you can exchange your fruit for basically for discard from your hand, for compost, for growth, for sprouts and stuff like that. So you can generate points still. So that was another point in the expansion, that if you add a 6th player, then the 6th player can still do something even if he cannot reach the fauna.
And there's actually, in many of our tests, some of our hardcore Earth testers and fans is in the 5 and 6 player count will ditch a leaf almost right away to secure themselves another objective, being like, I'm not going to worry fighting for those. I'm going to lock something in because this leaf might likely be useful later or useless later.
I mean, I've played games where I've managed to complete all 4 of the fauna objectives, some better than others. But now, with this possibility that I can actually just lose one of my leaves to gain a seed and then use the seed to go germinating or, get the other thing that I really need at that time, I can see me probably deciding from the off, or maybe near the start of the game, looking at those 4 faunas and going, I'm not going to do that one. I'll just forget that one.
Yeah.
So I've effectively got a spare leaf for whenever I need it.
And again, if you're looking even mid game, you can be like aiming for something, it's not going your way, whatever. And you can say, you know what? At this point, if I fight for that, I'm gonna get 3 extra points. I can easily use it for X, Y, or Z, and get way more points.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically, it gives more control to the player, to their destiny and what they can achieve with their board and with the game. And also, if you see you're not going to be the first one to close your tableau, that means you won't need the 5th leaf to claim the victory points for ending the game, so you can like exchange that one earlier as well.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Was there anything else that either of you wanted to add into this?
I'm excited. People are excited. It's fun to see everyone chatting online and talking about what they think is going to happen, what they hope happens.
Yeah,
and I think I just put it in my base game, and I don't see any reason not to play with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes a goal of the expansion was not to make the game longer, like Connor mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the game takes about the same amount of time, but it gives more control to the player. With the seed mechanic, you can really like better manage your expectation, your goals. It makes the blue action a little better, which was important for us, and it speed up the start of the game as well. Yeah, there's another point. There were some island cards that people thought were weaker. The ones that score more points at the end of the game but give you less starting resources. Now, since you start, everybody in the game will start with a fruit or 2 fruits at the beginning of the game. So it allows you to play those islands because you can get unstuck with your fruits, your seeds. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you can get unstuck at the beginning of the game with your seeds. So that corrects another little problem that we've spotted. We spotted in the game.
Excellent. Okay. Cool. Right. Well, thank you very much to you two for giving up your time. As I say, I'll get this video edited and it'll get online, and then we'll see what people say about it. But just as a reminder, Earth Day 2024, which is April 22nd, is when it's going to be going on Kickstarter. And as normal, you have a special bonus for day one backers, don't you?
We always do. Get your name in the box.
You're going to have to make the box bigger, though, or the font smaller.
We're going to have to use the whole sides as well.
So for those people who don't know, Inside Up Games, their bonus, if you are a day one backer, is that you will get your name printed on the inside of the box. So if you've got any games from Inside Up Games, take the front cover off, have a look on the inside, and you will see a list of everybody's names on there. So April 22nd. I mean, good luck with it. I say good luck with it. It's going to do well because Earth, I think it's fair to say, has been a popular game over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
I think it's done well.
We're quite excited about it.
Yeah, cool. Right. Well, yes, thank you very much to you two. Thank you very much to everybody watching. I would normally say if you've got any questions about it, please let me know, but I actually don't. Because I don't know any more than what I've said to you today. Just keep an eye on the Kickstarter page, which will be going up. Well, it's up early, but it'll be going live on April 22nd. So, yeah, cool. Right. Well, thank you very much, you two, and we'll see you all later on. Bye-bye.
Thanks.